Hi, everybody. Okay, so let's talk about All Lives Matter real quick. I know. I'm not going to be angry on this one. I just want to get a point out, just real quick, okay? So, the All Lives Matter movement is a sensitive subject in current times. You say all lives matter and you get attacked, right? Because all lives can't matter until Black Lives Matter, which is true. I said that in a video earlier this week. It's true. But I think that it's a really important thing to note that all lives do, in fact, matter. Yeah? All lives matter. But I find it interesting, and tell me if you agree, that the only time anybody says all lives matter is when we're talking about Black Lives Matter. Why is that? I am not trying to come on here and speak these things to say all lives matter is not important. The message at the heart of all lives matter is important, and it's true. All lives do matter, right? So why do we get upset when we hear people say it? Let me see if I can try and explain this to you in a way that does not cause divisiveness, but really just tries to explain to you why those particular words are so incredibly hurtful. Because that's what it is. We're not trying to get you to stop saying all lives matter because all lives don't matter. We're not trying to get you to trying to get you to stop saying all lives matter because Black lives matter more. Because we didn't say Black lives matter more. We don't feel Black lives matter more. We don't think or want anybody else to feel that Black lives matter more. And I think that anytime anybody comes with that all lives matter response, they are coming from a place that is responding to something inside of them that hears they're trying to tell me Black lives matter more than, and that's not what's happening. Let's break it down. When I say Black lives matter, I'm saying we deserve to stand in a space that causes us to be safe and have the same unalienable rights as every other American in the United States of America. We do not. Currently, at this point in the game, we do not. As exampled earlier this week when I said, if armed black men stormed any capital in America, armed to the teeth with AR-15s, they would not have gone home that night. You know it. I know it. Everybody knows it, which means we don't have the same rights in this country. We don't. Okay? So if that's the case, all lives should matter equally. And not even just equally, but equitably. Meaning, those that have a harder way to go should be recognized in that situation, and the field should be leveled so that all of us have a certain set, or we can all achieve the same goal given the same circumstances. Right now it's not. But even if you don't want to agree with all of that, that's fine. Okay? Let's get back to the matter at hand. All lives matter, saying all lives matter as a response to Black Lives Matter negates the argument that Black Lives Matter. When you say all lives matter in response to somebody saying Black Lives Matter, you have to recognize that what you're really saying is, no, Black lives don't matter any more than anybody else's life. But that's not what we're saying. So the argument that you're coming back with, what you're saying in response to what we're saying, doesn't even really make sense because we're not talking about the same thing. And then furthermore, it's hurtful for you to say that because it tells us you're trying to further your own agenda instead of taking the time to sit and listen to what we're trying to say in the moment because we are screaming for help. One thing I read said, imagine that you're at you are trying to bury your child. Unfortunately, your child has died and you're burying your child. And whilst delivering the eulogy at your child's funeral, somebody runs up to the microphone, grabs it from you, and says, all children are special. That's literally what's happening with All Lives Matter. So what do? I am not saying that you have to agree with the movement. I want it to be known and I want it to be explicitly pointed out. I do not require you to get on message with me. I would love for you to get on message with me. I would love for you to jump in the trenches with me and help fight this fight because it is in fact a fight that is valid in this country. I would love for you to come and stand with me in arms, hand in hand and in lockstep to get things done and to move this country forward and to actually affect change. So that when a police officer pulls up behind me, I don't feel like I might not go home that night. I would love for you to join me in bringing awareness to the facts that in this country, I am not treated as equal. As a woman, as a black woman, and as an Afro-Latina woman. I'm not treated equally. I'm not. But if you don't agree with those things, that's fine. You don't have to. You can stay right there. That's fine. You don't have to. But what I would love for you to do is not come back and say all lives matter. Because the reality is, if you really felt like that, that all lives matter would be the top trending hashtag on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, Reddit, and every other social media platform at all times, regardless of what, beyond a shadow of a doubt, no matter what time of year, no matter what social justices or injustices are committed. You want to know why? Because there's always something happening. It's Pride Month. So the LGBTQIA plus people have been fighting for equality since the dawn of time. Because there have been LGBTQIA plus people since the dawn of time, right? It's not a fad. It's not something that's brand new to the 21st century. It's a thing, and it's been a thing since forever. So when we do Pride Month, there are people that come out and they say, you know, against Christian rights and all this other kinds of stuff and blah, 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 to negate the LGBTQIA platform. But nobody totes all lives matter during that platform. But LGBTQIA plus people are all lives. Race, religion, obviously sex, ability or disability. There are LGBTQIA people in every one of those categories. When the babies are in cages, down at the borders, here in Texas, and in other border states, all lives matter wasn't a trending hashtag then, even though they're lives. Those people are lives. It didn't trend then, even though they're all lives. So whether you are for immigration or against immigration, the mistreatment of the children inside of the cages, ripping them away from their parents, not feeding them, sexual abuses, sexual trafficking, all of the different things that are going on to the babies in the cages, nobody said hashtag all lives matter during that time, regardless of what side of the argument you're on. When the natives had to endure the pipeline being installed across their sacred lands, nobody said anything about all lives matter then. It was, corporations and oil companies, and we have to, for commerce and for capitalism, we have to blah, blah, blah. But nobody was talking about the lives of the people that would be disrupted with that happening. Nobody talked about the fact that they're being disrespected by the U.S. government by violating their lands. Nobody talked about the lives that were involved in that particular thing. So some people argue and say, I don't like Black Lives Matter because it implies that other lives don't matter. When there are struggles and there are injustices against people all the time. You right. You are. Yep. You're absolutely right. There are struggles and there are injustices against other people all the time. You are correct. So why are you not saying all lives matter then? Why is all lives matter only in response to Black Lives Matter? Why is that? If somebody could really explain it, I would love to hear it. Because not one person that I've posed this question to has actually answered the question. They just go off on these talking points about how if you weren't in a dangerous position, if you don't put yourself in a dangerous position, then you won't, feel the consequences of a police officer. You know what? You know what, Tammy? You know what, Tamika? All of us have anxiety whenever we're pulled over by the police. We're all scared when we get pulled over by the police. Yeah, but you're scared when you get pulled over by the police because you don't know what kind of points you're going to get on your license. You don't know how much the ticket is going to be. You don't know whether or not he's going to, you don't know but you're worried about your papers. You're worried about what's going to happen to your license. You're not fearing whether or not you're actually going to make it home that night because you were disrespectful or because you went to go grab your license and registration and he thought you were going for a gun and shot first and asked questions later. You don't feel like you have to keep your hands visible at all times when you're in a routine traffic stop. You don't fear having your window broken because you refuse to roll down the window, which is your given right here in the United States of America. You don't fear being taken in for asking questions. You don't fear being taken in because you disrespected somebody. You don't fear having a police report falsified to make you look like a villain just because you exercised your rights. You don't have all those things. So your life in these all lives is different than my life. Your existence is different than mine. This is why Black Lives Matter is a thing today for us, because these are the things that we're fighting against. We want that equality and that equity to come and be a part of our world in these situations. And so Black Lives Matter is the name of the movement that we are using to put a face to so that we can quick reference. That's our quick reference tab to say, this is what we're talking about when we're talking about all these myriad of issues. It's Black Lives Matter. When we're talking about all the myriad of issues in the LGBTQIA plus community, when we're talking about all that, we call it gay rights. When we're talking about all of the different issues and the different things with ICE going in and kicking down people's doors and violating their rights and lying to them and catching up people and rounding up people in the neighborhood like goddamn stray dogs and shit, we call that immigration reform. But immigration reform doesn't have an all lives matter. LGBTQIA gay rights does not have an all lives matter. Only we have that. Once again, another thing that we feel inequality about. Yo, check yourself. Check yourself on that and recognize what you're doing every time you write All Lives Matter. Because the reality is, you don't have to agree. Nobody is requiring you to agree. You have the right to disagree with whatever you want to disagree with. You have every right to do that. What we are asking you to do is not negate, because that is not helpful. And not for nothing, especially if you're having these conversations with people that you say you love, if you're having these conversations with people that you care about, if you're having conversations with people that you relate to, recognize how that all lives matter message is messing with them right now. Because I'm gonna be honest with you, This whole situation, I'm not okay. On a daily basis, I'm not okay. It's hard for me to focus. It's hard for me to concentrate. It's hard for me to think. It's hard for me to sleep. It's hard for me to get things done. It's hard for me to focus. It's hard for me to do all the things that I need to do as a mother, as an employee, as a head of household. All of these things are being affected right now because I cannot properly focus on what my life needs to be doing because, quite frankly, I feel like my nation is not listening to me. And people that I know personally do not have enough care, enough compassion in their heart to not be hurtful toward me. That is a hard pill to swallow. It's a hard pill to swallow. People that I called a friend back in the gap that don't have enough compassion to listen to me and hear me out and listen to what I have to say and say, you know what? I respect you enough to not reply. Even though I don't agree with you. I can hear what you're saying. I don't agree with you, but you know what? You're valid for feeling that way. I don't get that respect from some people, and it's killing me inside. And you want to know what else is messing with me? The fact that George Floyd went to a store to buy something and lost his life. Whether he was involved in illegal activity or not, nobody deserves to die that way. If he was trying to pass a counterfeit bill or a counterfeit check or whatever the story is, that would have been a misdemeanor. He would have gotten maybe jail time, maybe a fine, and then gone about his life. Trayvon Martin said, "Mom, I'm gonna run to the store real quick. I'm just gonna run to the corner store and get a snack." Breonna Teller said, "I love you, honey. I'll see you in the morning. Good night," and kissed her loved one and went to sleep and got shot 9 times while she was sleeping in her bed with the full intention of waking up in the morning and being an essential person and going to work and saving lives every day, the next day. Ahmaud Arbery said, "All right, I'll see you when I'm done with my run." Never made it home. That's messing with me, man. Because you want to know why? I run to the store and get a snack. Let's face it, I don't go for a run. I don't do that. But I might one day. And the reality is, that might be the end for me. I live in Texas. And I live in a predominantly white neighborhood. And this is a stand your ground state. And I live in an apartment, but there are houses, right? But like, this is my apartment, and those are houses that are right behind me. And if I decided to go for a bike ride with my daughter or for a run right around the corner, I would be in those houses. Those people don't know me. I live in an apartment. They don't ever see me. So they might think, if the sun was hitting the right way, they might think that I was in their neighborhood doing some up to no good. They don't know. And because it's a stand your ground state, they can do whatever the hell they want. It's messing with me. So recognize that and know that all of us are going through that right now. We're going through stages of grief right now behind our status in this country. And your insensitivity by saying, no, all lives matter, is not doing anything to show your compassion for a moment that we're having right now. Now, if you feel like we don't have the right to have that moment, that's a whole nother conversation for a whole nother day. But then you really need to ask yourself, how do you really feel about these people? Because then you need to check your implicit bias to determine what exactly it is that you're thinking about these people, don't you? Mm-hmm, you do. So, all I'm saying is, even if you feel that all lives matter is your answer, you may want to check that before you say it out loud. And recognize who all is receiving your message and whether or not you are conveying your message properly by saying that. Because those, whether you like it or not and whether you agree with it or not, albeit true, all lives do matter, those words are hurtful. They hurt. They hurt. And if you don't want to be willfully hurtful, I suggest that you find another way to articulate your message. Have a good night.